I was wrong. Rich was right. As the 76ers pick up win number 6 on the season, taking down the Orlando Magic. Final score 102-94 in game 2, and the final game of this 2-game home series between these two clubs. And the Sixers improved to 6-15. The Magic now 16-9. And a big win for them at home in a low-scoring affair. Once again, 102-94 after the same thing, 106-102 on Wednesday. But, man, they found a way to get it done, even with the backcourt struggling the way that they did. KJ Martin, like father, like son, as we have it there in our thumbnail graphic. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Postgame show presented by our great friends from Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Rich Hoffman, Devon Givens, JP, all of you in the chat. Again, I raised my hand. I was wrong.
I was too. I was wrong.
You were much closer than I was, so I give you the credit. I even saw Jeannie, though. She did say it was going to be a win, so shout out to Jeannie in the
got
chat.
The score right, too.
Did
Good
say
for her. Yeah.
That this was going to be a win. Hey, we thought, maybe Paul George shines, and which he did, led the team in scoring with 21 points. Tyrese Maxey bounces back after a tough performance on Wednesday, has a much better scoring output, something accustomed to what we're used to from Tyrese Maxey. But neither of us, not even JP, neither of us thought we were sitting here talking tonight about KJ Martin being really, if not one, number 2, the reason why the 76ers win this game tonight.
Definitely 1A or 1B, right? He was great, and it's been awesome to see. And JP, do you have the 3 things ready yet, or not quite?
Give me 1 sec.
Well, anyway, KJ Martin is the first thing that stood out to me tonight, Devon. And we talked about it a little bit in the pregame, and that he has been a guy all season who he's done the little things, right? All of the advanced stats, all of the on-off numbers suggest that he is making a positive impact, but it doesn't always show up. He's a guy that I sometimes get a little bit frustrated with when there's a little bit too much offense. Go ahead, JP, put it up there. And he was my first takeaway tonight. Tonight, he did big things. He did little things. He did a lot of the stuff that I would associate with him in terms of switching, in terms of interior defense, help, all of those things. But he has 20 points tonight, made some huge buckets down the stretch. Great game for him. And I think overall, Devon, the second thing I would say, that was a gritty win. The Magic, they missed a million threes in the middle portion of that game. I forget what the exact number was. I think they were 0 for 13 in the second quarter. They shot better from 3 than the Sixers did. They made a bunch of threes down the stretch. They caught fire. I mean, they got to the point where Jalen Suggs wasn't even looking at the basket, which he flew a little too close to the sun, I would say, on those. But that was a gritty win. And they won the rebounding battle. Nice job. And a bunch of the role guys played really well. It was good stuff. And then the third thing, a professional effort from Paul George tonight. Not perfect. Feels like they're still feeling out how to get him going in the offense, where to put him on the left block, pick and rolls, those type of things. But he threw some really good passes. He threw some bad ones as well. We'll talk about that. But he made a lot of big plays, some really good defense as well. That is 2 straight nice performances from PG.
No, that was a really good performance from Paul George. But as you mentioned, this was a fantastic performance from KJ Martin to score the 20 points. His activity that we always talk about, his energy was all over the place. Where we can look at some of the others, at least from our vantage point, and just sit there and say, what's going on, with everybody else? What is happening with the rest of the guys? His energy was just all over the place. And this was a guy that we also talked about for Ricky Council IV to come out there and provide that energy and give that spark that was needed. Normally, if KJ Martin is not giving you the offensive side or something's just missing with him in the lineup, that's where Nick Nurse might lean and say, okay, it's not KJ's night, it's Ricky's night, or at least give Ricky a chance to see if it is his night. KJ Martin was so good that Ricky Council was sitting on the floor the entire night of the Sixers bench because of the fact that KJ Martin did all that he did with the 20 points. He was 9 for 10 from the field. He played 31 minutes and 52 seconds. He made one of his 2 3-pointers. His only miss was a second 3-point attempt where he was wide open and he had to shoot it, so you don't have a problem with it at all. 3 rebounds, 2 assists, no steals and no blocks, but that didn't matter because, again, his defense that you, Rich, highlighted for Ricky Council on Franz Wagner in pregame, that was KJ Martin tonight. Although he got his 30. Franz Wagner, we discussed it. He's an all-star. He's that type of player. He's on that type of role for this Magic team right now. That is, once again, one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. KJ Martin made him work. And there was one possession on the right side of the floor in the in the second half, where he was body to body in his jersey, not fouling him, just playing him, moving his feet, using his hands the way he needed to. And what he gave up in height, it didn't matter because he played picture-perfect defense. And oftentimes when you see it in basketball, you've all seen it enough. Rich, you've seen it. JP as well. We've all seen it where there's great defense, but sometimes just better offense by the offensive player. Franz Wagner made a tough fadeaway shot over KJ Martin, and I would probably say most of it was simply because he's 6'4", 6'5", where Franz Wagner is a little bit taller. He gives up a little bit of that in the height. So he played a tremendous game, not just with the passing. He didn't get a lot of assists because some of them were hockey assists, making the right pass, where we would say sometimes, hey, man, why did you do that? Why would you push that shot there instead of passing it to the open man? He had a nice bounce pass for a finish close to the rim for one of his teammates that worked out pretty well for the team. He also had those other passes, again, kicking it out, making the ball snap around the perimeter to find the best spot, find the best shot. And he was just all over the place. Had a great alley-oop finish where Paul George threw a beeline pass from about half court, and he had to guide it in while he was off balance, falling out of bounds. I still don't know how he made that.
He levitates, man.
He really does.
He really does.
That's how good KJ Martin was tonight. So for the things that we do discuss about him that drive you crazy in games at times, there are also these types of performances like tonight, maybe not in the point total overall, but just his impact on the game in its totality for the minutes that he's out there. And once again, for him to play 31-52 and be in the closing lineup as a non-scorer, but was a scorer tonight, that was an impressive showing by KJ Martin for Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse called his number off the bench, and he kept going with it, made the right decision by keeping him in the game as much as he did.
It felt like he got rewarded for doing the little things all season. And he did the little things tonight. I don't want to pretend that he turned into Kobe tonight and didn't do the dirty work and all the things.
That 9 of 10 was around the rim.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And you mentioned it. I think there was, if you go back and watch that, guys, he got switched onto Franz, who Franz is a monster right now. I mean, the work that he does physically against smaller guards, particularly Maxey and McCain tonight, he puts those guys in jail and scores on them with physicality and then touch in the mid-range and around the rim. When KJ got switched onto him, and that was about 5 or 6 times, whether it was a double drag screen or whatever, he moved his feet and he stopped him like 3 or 4 of those times. Like Devon said, Franz made a great move where the two of us looked and said, man, that's great defense. But that is what perimeter defense against great scorers is. You make them make that great shot time and again. And when they do make that shot, the next possession, you do the same thing and force them to beat you. I thought KJ was awesome. There was one possession where Franz actually had a little bit of a step on him, but because KJ had done such a nice job, Franz threw an off balance going to his left. He threw an alley-oop to his brother Mo, and KJ caught it. Sixers go the other way. I believe it was McCain. And guess who gets the dunk on the other end? KJ Martin, after McCain misses that. That was the type of night that he had. Again, I think we've seen it. You guys have called it out as when you have KJ on the back line and the Sixers get beat, and he is coming over from the corner to contest the shot. He's really good at that. Yes. And part of the reason he's really good at that, it's an unorthodox player because he's only 6'4", 6'5", but he gets up and he's sturdy and he's got pretty good timing on those things. But I was more impressed tonight with his defense on the floor. It was a really good job. And then at the end, Devon, for a guy who is not known as an offensive player, down the stretch of that game, things get hairy because Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony cannot miss a freaking shot at the end. It was crazy. They were on fire. Some of those, like Jalen Suggs is shooting 30-foot step backs in Maxey's face. I'm just thinking, like, all right, man.
And flinging them up, too. He's just,
I'm just like, all right, man.
Shake his hand.
You got to shake his hand on
right,
those ones or whatever. You could tell, by the way, did you notice that Suggs was having fun with Paul George and Nick Nurse after he flew too close to the sun?
Mm-hmm.
I think both of them were like, Man,
Yeah.
I think you got a little bit full of yourself.
There was
You were killing
there was
us.
one dead ball situation where the Sixers were shooting their free throws. It was after Suggs made a three, but the Sixers were rewarded with free throws. The camera then panned back to him talking to the two of them.
They were like,
and it was funny. But it's good to see that when there's a W.
yeah,
If they're
absolutely.
losing the game, and again, we're talking about in the guts of the fourth quarter. These are the final 4 minutes, final 3 minutes where Suggs and Anthony cannot miss. And they're just drilling these threes. And we're saying, I mean, guys, of course this is the Sixers season. This is happening. And you know it's going to be the ultimate ending. They're going to lose by a point because of this and the free throws, which we'll get to. We'll get to all of that stuff. Yeah, but
I'm so happy for us, and I'm so happy for all of our listeners, because that would have been they played really well tonight, and it felt like for a second there it was going to be one of those games that the Magic just stole at the end, just because BS shot making, again, bad free throw shooting from Sixers. That was that carried over from the other night. We can get to that in a little bit, but they held on, and part of the reason they held on, Devon, for KJ Martin, a guy who I don't believe is always super skilled, right? That's kind of what he has to improve at. He has to get a more reliable jumper. He has to find ways to impact the game offensively. That is what his weakness is. The Magic go zone down the stretch when it gets to like 7. Did it get down to 4 points at some point?
it did. 98-84. 98-94, I think it was.
And the Sixers get 6 points, I believe, 2 of them on buckets and 4 of them on baskets, and then 2 of them on free throws, where they have the same alignment against the zone.
Mhm.
They have Yabusele flashing to the center, and they have KJ Martin in the dunker spot, and some great interior passing between those two. It went both ways. One of them was, or 2 of those were KJ to Yabu. One of those, Yabu got to KJ. Really impressive finish, because Wendell Carter had come over as Yabu had beaten Jalen Suggs, and KJ kind of caught it behind his back, and he goes up and he finishes. And part of it was an awkward finish, but when you can jump that high and finish, it's part of what frustrates me about him, because he's such a good leaper. I feel like he sometimes should have a little bit better touch around the rim, but he made the shot tonight. So it wasn't just that he was one of their 2 best players during the game. He also made the big plays down the stretch. Really nice job. I mean, man, we've seen a lot of really good Sixers teams struggle against those zone defenses. Those Embiid, Simmons, Redick, Butler teams, man, you throw a zone defense at them for a few quarters, they couldn't score. Magic go zone late in this game, and the Sixers execute not really with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey. They go to more of a team setup and 2 of their lesser known guys, and they get buckets. So a really nice job down the stretch.
No, it really was. And that play you're talking about, where he had the pirouette basically and uses good footwork to spin and get that finish right there at the lip of the rim and get it over for a layup. That was a really good catch, really good concentration, and not to travel, not to put the ball down on the floor. Once they gamble, he was in a really good spot, because it also was a tough pass, like Rich talked about, where it put him in a tough spot, in a difficult spot. But again, good hands, and the spin was right there at the rim, so he was good to go. Just a really good overall performance. And even in that zone that you were talking about, he had a couple of good plays within the zone, as we were talking about, where we say they always find a way. We look at other teams and we see them, the Sixers threw a zone at them. The opposition always figures out the Sixers zone defense. And you're like, why can't the Sixers do the same thing the other way? It always looks like it's very, very easy against the Sixers zone. But tonight, they handled it the right way. You saw it a few times there. The shot wasn't falling all the time, but he just did everything the right way, and especially in that zone to help him out. That one play that you talked about, though, that where he got the rebound or steal, going back the other end, miss, ball comes off the rim, bounces up perfectly. Who's right there? KJ Martin. That just highlights the type of night that he had. He was everywhere from one end to the next. His energy was all over the place, and he had his fingerprints, his footprints everywhere all over this game.
One other winning play that he had, and this was in the first half, incredible offensive rebound, and then pass to Jared McCain for the bucket.
Yep.
Just he looked like a wide receiver. He basically mossed the guy. And it was that type of play where I'm like, man, it must be pretty cool to jump that high and just be that high up in the air, because it was an amazing play, and then really good awareness by him to find Jared McCain, who struggled tonight, for a cutting basket. Nice job. So I have a question for you, and I'd like everybody in the chat to chime in on this one, because KJ Martin in the offseason was a pretty big storyline. And the storyline that everybody sort of knew is that because of the weird way that the NBA salary cap worked, he was the one guy that the Sixers could keep at a small cap hold and then pay him a bunch of money. I don't think he was somebody who Daryl Morey, based on last year, would have brought back. But because of his cap hold, they kept him around and they gave him more money than he probably would have gotten on the open market. And it was one of these weird things where everybody said, that is a balloon payment, and he is being paid to be traded in, I forget if it's past December 15th or January 15th. One of those two, at some point in the middle of the season, everybody thought, okay, the Sixers got some picks. They got that Clippers pick.
Easy call.
This was the matching salary that's going to be attached to those picks so they can bring in a better player. Devon, he has played really well. He's another guy. We've talked about how McCain and Yabusele have exceeded our expectations. And let's say, I think part of this relies on the Sixers actually stringing some wins together and not looking like the top of the lottery team like they've looked for most of the year. But I'm curious what everybody thinks here, and you as well. Is he not that matching salary anymore? Is it maybe Kelly Oubre? Is it maybe Caleb Martin?
It could be. It could be. But this is the one part about it, too, on the other end of it, which is, we've talked about playing him. Now, we thought it was going to be a totally different season. Talked about playing him to showcase and highlight what he's doing. Well, he's showcasing and highlighting where it might be so difficult for them to not say no on the trade because of the mere fact that he's so good that the others are going to be like, nah, we need this guy to try to do something with our team, where the Sixers may want to hold on to Martin or even Oubre, but maybe Oubre is also included in some deal. Maybe it's both of them. Maybe Martin is part of the deal with Kelly Oubre to make salaries match, depending on who was coming back to Philadelphia. So that's a great question, and it's a great question because of how well he has played. Before it was just, can we unload it to get off of it to get a much better player? Now you look at it, especially with guys maybe in and out of your lineup. If Embiid is in and out, if Drummond's not playing well, you can go a little small with Yabusele at the 5, KJ Martin at that 4 with Paul George also on the floor for certain minutes, where you decide, yeah, I can't. I can't. He's too valuable to my team right now for me to give up on this guy at the moment. I can't do it. So it's a great question that I don't know the answer to.
I don't know the right answer either.
I don't.
But I think it's a question now, and that's a credit to KJ Martin. And I appreciate that a bunch of people in the chat are saying I'd still trade him, right? They're not going to let this first part of the year maybe move them from their priors. Now, that might be wrong. I'm not sure. I think it's a question. I don't know what the right answer is. I guess the big reason why it's a question, though, Devon, is that he's playing playoff winning basketball. He can switch. He can rebound, which they still struggle at. Now, they did a much better job. I think as soon as we talked about, you said, the pieces change every year, and this team still struggles to grab a defensive rebound. I think after that point, which is about midway through the second quarter, they started to rebound a lot better. Of course, there were some hairy moments, but they did win the battle on the boards. But he helps you in that regard, right? And he helps you with versatility. I'm still a little curious, like, if you were to play him in a playoff series, is his offense good enough? I mean, he did a nice job against a really good defensive team tonight, but in the playoffs, sometimes they scheme those limited players out. But I just think the kid deserves so much credit for even making it a question at this point, because I was not expecting to even ask that question.
But you know what's funny? As you say that, and the folks in there say, nah, you still trade him. And, you use the other guys with him to move on.
That's fine.
Can't you just see him getting traded to, let's say it's a playoff team, right? Two teams, they want to swap and they playoff team, or maybe it's not a playoff team, but it's a team that's on the rise. They need another young player like KJ Martin, and you're just looking at them saying, they're looking at it saying, oh man, we got a pretty good point guard who likes to throw lobs, and while he can't get his own offense, we can design some things for him to get some plays along the baseline. My point guard breaks down the defense, gets into the middle of the lane. This guy's cutting along that baseline for some finishes. And look, we've seen Maxey improve with his passing, and Jared McCain will get there as well. Paul George is a good passer. We'll talk about the other side of the Jekyll and Hyde passing of Paul George. Sure. But can't you just see another team with a more pass-first type of mind for a point guard where they take advantage of his athleticism and his smarts for what he does? as a non-scorer for himself, but one that benefits from your passing and your scheme.
To his credit, too, KJ has been the recipient from some of Maxey's best passes over the last couple of weeks in the two-man game, the pick and roll, those things. It is funny. Remo says, remember that Furkan Korkmaz had 34-point games. Remo, I didn't forget about that.
Great call.
What a great couple of games. He had the back-to-back. Do you remember in 2019-20 where he lit up, I believe it was Memphis and Chicago on a back-to-back? Furk could not miss.
Couldn't miss.
And I know Remo is not.
Good call, Remo.
I know Remo is not saying this. Obviously, it's the NBA. Any players can get hot. They're all very talented in an 82-game schedule. I think the difference between KJ and Furk is that Furk would trip over his big old feet on defense, and KJ seems to know what he's doing in terms of rebounding and switching and all of those things. But hey, look, that is a reminder, at least, that I don't want to overreact too much, but I like how KJ has played. I need to emphasize this point. The on-off numbers and all of the advanced stuff says you need to play this guy more. He's been one of your more helpful players this year. So it's not just tonight that he has been good. I think tonight was the culmination of it. Tonight he got rewarded. Tonight he might win a fake award that we might give him in a little bit.
It's a real award.
It's a real fake.
It's
a real fake award. But he's been doing a lot of good stuff for the past few weeks.
Yes, he has. Again, finishing with 20 off the bench. Sixers had 5 players in double figures. He was second behind Paul George's 21. We'll talk about Paul George on the other side, his impact in his game back after sitting out on Wednesday. A really good performance from him tonight to lead the team in scoring with 21 and a team best 9 assists as well. Paul George will discuss him on the other side. Sixers win 102-94, win number 6, PHLY Sixers Postgame Show, presented by Bet365.
And Devon, I am here to tell you not just about Furkan Korkmaz and his legendary performances, but our friends at TrueMark Financial.
Oh, KJ put his money in the bank at TrueMark. All right, yes, KJ, good call.
Yes, he did. And while the Sixers have perhaps at times tested this idea, it is hard to win without proper coaching. But TrueMark is here to help you coach your kids, not just in sports, but you have to do that elsewhere. But if you've got kids, TrueMark has the ultimate playbook for teaching financial responsibility with a free Greenlight account. The Greenlight app is changing the game, helping kids and teens learn how to earn, save, and spend wisely. They can set up their savings goals, track their spending, and even get an allowance, all right there in the Greenlight app. And here's the really cool part, Devon. Each kid gets their own debit card so they can make purchases and learn real-world money skills while you, the parent, stay in control from your phone. Get signed up today and visit TrueMark.com/Greenlight. You get peace of mind, and they get the freedom to make smart decisions with their money. It's like coaching your kid through their very own financial game. And for TrueMark Financial members, it is free. With the holidays right around the corner, now is the perfect time to introduce your kids to Greenlight. One more time, to get signed up today, visit TrueMark.com/Greenlight for more information.
And I have to tell you about our presenting sponsor here tonight. That is our great friends from Bet365, Never Ordinary. And if you listen to our pregame picks, we were pretty good overall on what we wanted tonight in this one. So the first one, just to go back to Rich and our picks tonight, I did have Franz Wagner going over the 26.5. He had 30. He cleared that one. That's how good he has been. Thank you very much. The fake clappers there. Then I had Tyrese Maxey with 2.5 threes tonight. He had some good looks. Looked like he hesitated on a few. He finished with just 1 make on 7 attempts from behind the three-point line. So we did not get that one right. I did not get that one right. That's my bad. You did.
You've been hitting.
Yeah, pretty good. And you got your assists, 4 assists for Guerschon Yabusele. And we all did that courtesy
Frenchman
of our good friends from Bet365, Never Ordinary. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and much more. And when you get in there and do so, it'd be very easy. Don't forget about the big game on Sunday. 2 of them, actually. Philadelphia football hosting Carolina, and this basketball team on the road to take on Chicago maybe 2 in a row, again, for this basketball team. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary, must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. He got up 7 threes. Tyrese Maxey, unfortunately,
just couldn't make them.
Couldn't make those tonight. He made the first one. I was like, all right, that one was clean. It was wide open. It was off a great ball movement. Knocked it down. He wasn't hunting for his shots right away. Paul George was doing that, get into a flow offensively earlier. Maxey knocked down the first one. I'm like, okay, he's going to get that 3 tonight. But did not happen. We'll talk about Maxey a little bit more. But the other one, as we talked about starting the offense, was Paul George.
Absolutely.
As he and Martin teamed up, the 2 20-point scorers for this basketball team tonight. Phenomenal. 21 points, 9 assists, 42% from the floor, 3 for 4 from the foul line. He took the first 3 or 4 shots for the Sixers.
Ran a lot of ISOs with him early.
Maybe the first 2, and I think that was by design because of how quick of a hook Nick Nurse had for him. Still getting used to being back on the floor, still dealing with that knee brace on his knee, watching his minutes the way that Nurse is watching his minutes. And he got things started. First 4 points, he took another shot, another fadeaway shot that he took there in the flow of the offense, and ended up, again, with 21, 9 assists, 4 boards in 36 minutes and 55 seconds. He was 8 for 19 from the field, 2 for 7 from beyond. So you like to see him get those threes up. A few more that we would have liked a little cleaner if he wasn't defended as closely as he was.
Some tough ones, yeah.
Yeah. So, but he played a good all-around game. The only thing that we got on him about, we'll talk about. But for the good of Paul George tonight, he was really good. As you called it, a professional performance tonight.
I agree with you. And I'm going to start with a question to you and the chat. You guys can join in as well. So let's pretend Joel Embiid doesn't play the rest of the year. I'm not wishing that to happen.
Sure.
I'm just saying we have this. We've seen this week twice. This team with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain and the rest of the team being generally available. Devon, if they were to play a full season with this group, what's the range that you think they would finish at in the NBA? They went 2-0 this week. They were difficult games to win, both of them, but they beat a pretty good team tonight, despite not shooting all that well. I'm curious what everybody thinks a PG Maxey team, if you give them a full year, what's their record going to end up being around?
I would say they're fighting for anywhere from 6, 7, 8 as a team in the Eastern Conference. And I was criticized by our good buddy Al, the 2-minute warning, when I said if it was just a Maxey team, and this was no disrespect, this was just who else was around, how this team was built to be around the 3 of them, not this particular one all-star, that they would still be a lottery team. It didn't necessarily mean they would be a top 5 team. It mean they could have just missed the playoffs and jumped into that 12, 13, 14 spot in the lottery. But with this particular, if they knew that this was, because again, as we talked about before, going into the season, they had 3 different offenses. One led by Joel Embiid with the other 2 all-stars around him. The second one with Tyrese Maxey and Paul George leading that particular offense with Joel Embiid missing those games. And then you had the Maxey offense with both of those 2 other all-stars missing some time. So with it, if you had Paul George and Tyrese Maxey and you knew that Paul George was going to play a good majority, I would say they're fighting for anywhere from the 6 seed to the 7 and 8 play-in, with the 9 and 10 on the real back end, because I would think that those 2 know exactly what it is that they need to do. The rest of the team around them, the personnel, understands who they are around those 2, and they're just too good together. I think that they work together well enough where in the Eastern Conference, where there are so many other bad teams, that they would lift up naturally because of the 2 talents that they do have, and also because of what the others don't have, where they would be that 6 seed, no worse than 6, of course, 7 and 8 on the end. So that would be my answer. I would think they would still be a playoff team, but on the back end, where we would see Miami for many years and Indiana on the back end as well, Orlando before they are who they are right now, that type of team fighting for 6.
So it seems like almost everybody in the chat thinks it's high 30s, low 40s type of win, which I think is right in that range that you said. kind of depends on how the East shakes out year to year. We know the East can be pretty bad, but sometimes the East, the 6 or 7 seed is like a 45, 46 win team. I think they're probably around an 8 seed. Now, obviously, if you had Maxey and PG and you didn't have Joel, like maybe you would be able to move that salary somewhere else. But that's not what this scenario would be. So I think that is right. And I think that is perfectly fine for your non-Joel nights if he was just not playing back-to-backs, right? Mm-hmm. If you can be a 500 team in those games, that's great. If you can be on pace to be an 8 or a 9 seed when he was sitting out and he was only sitting out occasionally or once every week or something like that, no problem, right? You'd be able to completely just tread water and you'd be fine. Over a full season, it's a lot harder, obviously, with the situation that they have. But yeah, he clearly makes a big difference. And yeah, I thought he was really good tonight. It was a little bit up and down. So he is such an adventure as a passer. And he finishes with 9 assists tonight. That's Paul George, everybody I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Finishes with 9 assists, which I think was his season high. Made some really good passes. But he combines that with some just wildly off-target passes. In the first half, do you remember he throws a pick 6 to Franz Wagner where he's trying to bring the ball up to Maxey. He throws it across the court on his own side of the court. Franz takes one dribble and picks it off like, it was the easiest pick 6 in the world, steps into a 3 and drills it. Yep. And I'm just sitting there just scratching my head just like, man, like a third grader wouldn't make that pass. That's something you would yell at them. On the other hand, he made some great passes down the stretch. The one that I am thinking of was actually a KJ Martin bucket in the fourth quarter as things were getting tight. They run that right side ISO to him. They have him foul line extended-ish, block extended-ish on the right side. He's got Jalen Suggs on him, so tough guy to score against, but he's got a little bit of height over him. And KJ Martin from the right side. Sorry, he was on the left side. PG was on the left side of the floor. Mm-hmm. KJ Martin, nice cut from the right side of the floor. Perfect dime from PG. Bucket. Did a great job and really had a bunch of those passes tonight. It's just that sometimes he creates those passing angles, guys, and he just misses on them. Like he had the one alley-oop that was not on target. He had a guy in the corner. There was a play where Maxey made a great catch on a cross-court pass late in the game. And I'm just thinking like, Paul, you got to put that on the money. Anyway, I think we knew that about Paul George. He's not the greatest passer.
Yeah.
But he still did I thought that was, despite the fact that he wasn't uber efficient, he did a good job in like an old school wing type of way where he provided good defense. He played a little bit of bully ball. Didn't make a ton of his threes, but it was a nice performance. And he got by the Magic centers a couple times. He got Goga and Mo Wagner on him. And for a guy who has not gotten by some of the wings in the way that we are probably hoping, maybe that comes at some point. But again, he's been playing in the NBA for a long time, so you kind of understand it. It was good to see him blow by at least the matchups he should blow by. And overall, I thought it was a really good game. I thought he played well.
Yeah, and you just talk about the adventure that it is with his passing and knowing coming in the type of passer that he is or isn't. It's also, man, he still ended up with 9 assists though. and there were some really good passes, some really good finishes from his teammates. And that's what makes him so good. And the thing that stands out to me is I can't help myself, but I look at some of the players in the past that have been at that wing position and the shot making that was available or the shots that were available to them in similar spots that Paul George has, which is why he's a Hall of Famer and a multi-time All-Star, Olympian and all, where the difference is it's so obvious that this was the type of wing that when Steven Jackson joined us a few months ago, he's like, yeah, this is this type of guy you need at the wing position to play next to Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey because of all that he can do. He had, on the defensive end, a couple of knockaways where he just tipped away his anticipation while he gambles. It's because he has a reputation of being so good as a wing defender on ball, helping off ball as he does. But his anticipation with the live dribbling of his offensive player that he's defending and the wherewithal and the smarts to time it perfectly to tip the basketball away. Sometimes he gets it. Sometimes his teammates do. Sometimes they recover it, does the opponent. But he's so good at that stuff, man, that when we started to forecast what this team would look like with Joel Embiid on the back end, those 3 wings starting next to Tyrese Maxey, and how much chaos they could cause together, I wish we just had an opportunity for a stretch of the season to see it exactly like we thought it would be when you get glimpses of this.
Yeah.
And this is with the guy that's playing with a big, bulky knee brace on right now. Imagine if he wasn't just playing with his compression sleeve or a knee sleeve on his knee, that he can go out there and be himself and play that way to go along with the offensive production, the shot making, the passing that he has out there. And his three-pointer, I would imagine, would start to fall at a much better clip as the season would go along. We get these, and it's just a tease.
Yeah.
Because of Joel not being there. Basically, he's playing now George hurt the way that he is, still playing through this injury, and Tyrese Maxey being out there as the lone guy on a consistent basis. It just kind of pinpoints what we are not able to see, what's being taken away from us and seeing with this basketball team to what we're actually witnessing on a day-to-day night, game-to-game type of thing, because of the fact that we don't know who's going to be playing one night to the next for this basketball team. We don't know if Joel Embiid is going to play on Sunday. We don't know if he's going to play.
He was there tonight.
Next Thursday. You know what I'm saying? We have no idea of when Joel Embiid is going to be on the floor, and we're being robbed of that, if you will, with the season, which is why they are where they are, was at 6-15. But he was really good tonight. With the others that struggled, and you got the production from KJ Martin to open that opportunity up, and he grabbed it and ran with it. Paul George did exactly what the consistent Paul George that you always expect to do, and go out there and give you a stat stuffer of a stat line.
He was great. And you're right. You do watch him play and think, man, I wish Joel was healthy. Like, you could play in one of those high-level, playoff games, but not even playoff games. You just play like the Celtics on Christmas, and it's an intense game, and both teams are going hard. It's just nice that you would have a guy that you could throw the ball to on the block or on the wing or whatever and say, go get us a bucket. Now, you don't need to do that the entire game, because we're going to have an offense with Joel and Maxey and cutting, and Joel's obviously going to handle most of it, but you can take us for about 5 minutes. And you just see that he has to do it for 25 minutes now, right? And that's probably where my nitpicking on the passing comes.
Sure.
I do think he's like not the, sometimes he doesn't throw it accurately, but that's okay. He's played really well. I'll tell you one other really nice playmaking move he made, Devon, in a key spot. They got him the ball against Jalen Suggs left side, and he patiently dribbles the ball towards the basket. There's a little bit of help, finds Jared McCain in the corner for a three. That was a huge shot in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Nice decision-making, Paul George, on that one. Yeah, man, he was really good tonight. And that's what we want to see, right? Again, he struggled earlier on in the season, but he was coming off 2 injuries. And to see that he said when he got that second injury, okay, this one's not going to be as bad. And he wasn't out for as long. He was only out for a couple games. He has come back, and he has been pretty sharp, I think. And that's a huge sign for them, because again, they got to win games. And with him this week, they got 2 of those wins.
All right, we got to take a quick break, a little time out here, and come back on the other side and discuss some of the other positives and the negatives from this game. There was some good games from a few others, some tough shooting nights from a few other of the Sixers players out there as well. Despite all of that, those struggles, they picked up the win 102-94. We'll come back. We'll get into some good, some bad, player of the game, strong and wrong, WTF moment. We got it all. And we'll also have Kyle Neubeck, Derek Wagner joining us from the center. We'll do that when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
And Devon, I am here to tell you about our friends at Empire Today, who can help you with all of your carpeting and flooring needs. You can use empiretoday.com/PHLY for $350 off new floors. Devon, with Empire Today, you get to shop for a bunch of great things. Home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. Of course, there are going to be copycats out there, but they cannot beat Empire Today on quality, service, and speed, so they advertise lower quality products that Empire simply will not carry. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. Devon, shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone today who was working in plumbing yesterday. Flooring is all that Empire Today does. They live and breathe it, so you can be confident that you're getting honest, upfront advice. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details.
And if you're feeling a little banged up this time of the year and you're wondering what's going on, I have to direct you to my good friends from Rothman Orthopedics. Rothman Orthopedics took care of me when I was dealing with my injuries, both my ACL and my Achilles. Now I'm back. And despite Al and Winona telling me to stay off the floor, I can't help but get some of those pop-a-shot shots off with Rich during some timeout and halftime situations here in the office, and then getting myself out there on a real basketball floor and testing, seeing what's going on with my knee and my ankle. But if you are like me and are a weekend warrior in terms of playing basketball, or it's just simply something that you love, like gardening, and you can't get down and get comfortable with how you have to do your gardening, well, Rothman Orthopedics is the place for you. Patients will find the full spectrum of orthopedic care at Rothman Orthopedics. From diagnosis to discharge, they provide their patients with every service and procedure necessary, such as x-rays, orthotics and bracing, MRIs, physical therapy, and much more. For more than 50 years, Rothman has participated in thousands of groundbreaking research and clinical trials with the goal of advancing knowledge, developing treatments, and improving outcomes for the benefit of their patients. Now, Rothman Orthopedics, they specialize in orthopedics in you and me. I'm a walking billboard for Rothman here. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. We head to the arena right now. You get a win, you get quick press conferences and quick post-game availability on a Friday night. They want to get out of there, and we have Kyle Neubeck joining us right now to talk about.
I thought we had Derek Bodner's shoulder too,
and
but
Derek
he got
in the background.
He got chopped off. Hey, by the way, I'm so happy to hear that your gardening Achilles has been healed, Devon. That you can get down there in the soil, plant the roses, the tulips, everything you need. I thank you, Rothman.
That's
Hashtag
right.
Thank you, Rothman, for allowing us to have a bountiful garden at the Givens house.
And I can walk up 7 flights of stairs easily because of my Achilles. All done.
PHLY problems. Hashtag.
Well, Kyle, man, look, a good win, a great KJ Martin performance tonight. Well, we've seen him have individual performances that have not really been highlighted because some things have taken away, especially a loss. But for this one tonight, everything from good defense on the best player on the opposite side, of Franz Wagner, the 20 points when others weren't scoring. He picked up that slack there. And just being a reliable player for Nick Nurse tonight in this win.
Yeah, and look, some of this stuff is just the stuff that we've been talking about all season, right? I think he comes in, he plays with energy, he leverages the athleticism, and I think this is the year where you can see his mind is the speed at which he's processing the game is maybe not matching the athleticism, but it's much closer, right? There are less of the plays at the rim or on defense where he's flying in at the last minute. It's a lot more good initial positioning, and he can use the athletic tools, and that's big. So that helps him on defense. It helps him with the offensive rebounding. It helps with, he's still, for me, not getting up enough threes, but at least he's deciding he's not taking one quickly. So if he's not going to take it, it's 1-2 dribbles, and he's going up to try to score at the rim. He's getting to the paint. He's getting fouled. He's drawing contact, and he's not doing the record scratch, oh, we got to reset the possession thing. And I think if you're not going to shoot a high volume of threes, that is critical, right? Because we've seen it with tons of guys over the years. I think the worst guy on that front was Tobias Harris. He used to ruin the possession in a lot of ways, or 12 as Devon has started referring to him as. But KJ has done a good job of, even though the 3-point volume is low, he's still making quick decisions. So when you pair that with, he's a great roller, great finisher, leverages that athleticism around the rim, I think he's deserved a good amount of minutes this year. And frankly, the way he's playing lately, he's going to start putting himself in the conversation for a starting role and, a pretty big nightly role for this team. So, hats off to him for how he's playing lately, but certainly tonight. I don't know if Derek has any additional KJ thoughts.
I got a question for Derek on
there we go.
So No, and I agree with you, Kyle. The 3-point volume is frustrating, especially because I like his mechanics. Like he's got nice, quiet mechanics. It feels like he should be able to make a catch and shoot three. Doesn't take a ton. Derek, we were talking about this earlier, and I'm curious what your take is. I think it's a good question. I think either answer is right. Also,
would you ask a question if you didn't think it was a good question?
Huh? No, I ask big questions all the time. Come on.
I appreciate the self-eval there. I appreciate.
Yeah, come on, man. Sometimes you don't know what's coming out of your mouth. So the question we were debating is KJ Martin all offseason. We viewed him as balloon payment, right? Matching salary, somebody who the Sixers were able to sign to trade down the line. Has he played himself out of that conversation yet? Because I think he's been pretty good so far.
I think if he has, I wouldn't say he has played himself out of that conversation. I wonder if the Sixers have played themselves out of being buyers at the deadline. I still think that's probably the driving force. If they don't trade KJ, it's probably a lot more to do with that. I do still think that, look, if they get back and let's say Joel looks like he's playing on a mostly night-to-night basis, or at least a lot more frequently than he is now, and they catch up and they really have a chance for that 6th seed and they're going to be buyers, I think they're just going to need that salary to truly be buyers. They could obviously then include Kelly in there as well, or maybe Kelly instead of KJ. And certainly I think KJ has been playing better than Kelly of late. But no, he's not. Like, my bar for untouchable is very high, and he is nowhere near clearing that. And they will need that salary for any flexibility they want. The question is whether or not they really are close enough and have a high enough chance to win to justify going all in. If not, then you bring him back and you do this again next year.
It's fair. Kyle, what did you think about PG tonight? I thought, it's funny. We've been talking about his passing and that sometimes he throws some pretty crazy ones, but look, season high 9 assists, made some really nice plays late in the game, made some big shots. We've seen him 2 times this week. What do you think you've seen from him so far?
I think you just see the offense look like an actual NBA offense when he's available, right? And that's not to say it's an NBA offense for all 48 minutes, but we asked Nurse about this specifically after the game, like, what does he bring? And Nurse's answer is everything, right? Like the ability to throw the ball to him in the mid post at the end of the clock. And it's like, well, he's got a chance to make a shot over somebody, and he can hit a pull-up 3 over basically anybody in the league, right? And he's got the step back. And I think the thing that really helped him tonight was just the patience as a driver, right? He had a bunch of those, quick drop-offs, or it's just like that long drag step that he uses where you get the defender a little bit off balance, it draws the help, and then whether it's Yabu or Kelly or KJ or whoever it is, it buys them a little bit of wiggle room in the dunker spot or coming from the corner, and those guys can get some free runs at the rim, and they've done a good job of taking advantage of that. So while, yes, I do still think his passing is or can be an adventure, I think he has been pretty comfortably their best playmaker when he's actually been on the floor. And the fact that he is regularly making those skip passes over the top or looking for passes that are something beyond the, one pass away, quick dump off type of reads, that's facilitating some swings around the perimeter and some better offense where, frankly, a bunch of guys are touching the ball on given possessions. And I think that helps. Like Kelly Oubre was up here right before we got on with you guys talking about, like, he feels he's in a rhythm right now. And Kelly took like 10 shots tonight, right? He's 5 for 10. He's had a lot of those type of games recently where it's like 4 for 8, 5 for 10, 6 for 12. And it's not Kelly Oubre dominating the ball and dominating possessions. He's making the most of his possessions, but he's involved, right? They're just playing off of one another, and they're functioning like a real offense with connected players. And I think Paul getting some regular game time and bringing the skill set that he does to the table has been a big part of that.
Derek Wagner and Kyle Neubeck joining us live from the arena here on the Sixers PHLY Postgame show presented by Bet365. Derek, we were looking at the game in the first half. Sixers up 50-41. They leading that one, had a pretty good second quarter, winning that one by 9. But we look up and Tyrese Maxey only has 4 shots. Didn't look like he was really looking at the basket often. He was passing the ball, going to the corner a little bit. What did you make of how he played tonight? And once again, he turned it up in the second half once again for this team. This time they get the win versus what we saw on Wednesday.
Derek gets to be the bad guy tonight.
Yeah, so going back to Paul George, because I don't want to walk into that landmine. Besides being the best skip passer on the team and generating corner threes, I think he's also really had a good pick and roll chemistry. He's maybe their best pick and roll passer. So guys like Guerschon, I think, have really benefited playing next to him. So is KJ. And also I think he's just he's been an adult in the room, and not only offensively, but defensively as well. He's really good hands. He's been able to switch. I just think he's been a real stabilizing presence.
All right, if Derek's going to be a coward, somebody else will take the mic.
We weren't attacking him. We were just saying that he only took 4 shots in the second half, and what changed?
I looked at the comment section for the last game. I'm not.
An abdication of duty from Derek Wagner at the podium tonight. This is why you turn to me for your post game. Anyway, listen, fellas. While certainly he had a decent stretch, I wouldn't even call it a great stretch, a decent stretch in the second half. It's hard for him to get comfortable with the way teams are playing him, and on top of that, he's not making shots, right? Like if he can't make threes and teams are walling off the paint, right? Like you're seeing 2 guys there as much as they can put 2 guys there, right? And the Sixers have done a better job of getting some shooting on the floor and helping him out a little bit in that way, where if you're loading up on the paint, that at least they have some guys that he has as an outlet. But there's very little, and Devon, I know you respect the mid-range game. There's very little of leaning on the mid-range game, on the pull-up. And, I mean, even the ones that he's getting up, the runners and floaters, they don't look like they have much of a chance of going in either. I think if I had a main criticism for Tyrese in this game, I think he was, when he succeeded, it was all speed. And when he failed, it was all speed. And I'm not seeing a lot of pace changing from him this year. It's a lot of just, I'm going to try to go 100 miles an hour. And when he can get isolation, which is very few possessions a game because teams are blitzing him, hedging him, throwing 2 bodies at him, then it looks great, right? Because he's going to win a foot race against the vast majority of guys in the league. But when he can't get that, or when help comes in behind the guy he's up against, he's just running into walls. And, to see him on an island against bigs and then not be able to get past that guy, or at least force a rotation and take a nasty step back 3 miss, that kind of stuff is dispiriting. So, I mean, he still has, we talked to him after the game. He still seems like he's got a good attitude on everything. Devon was actually in the middle of the game texting us, like, how's he looking, body language and demeanor and all that, because it was a tough game up to that point. And I would say in the locker room, he's still talking about the more important things, which is not him, but the group, right? And that he's happy with the fight they've shown lately. He's happy with the energy. He's happy for KJ. And so I'm glad that he's been able to at least keep that perspective, right? That even though he's not having the season that he wants and he's not putting together the performances that he wants, that he's still largely focused on the more important goals, which are the team goals.
That's fair. All right, guys, last one, because there was a lot of good stuff. And I guess, Derek, since the camera has panned to you, you're going to get it. What is going on with Nick Nurse in these challenges? I mean, that was ridiculous. Like, I need somebody here, might be me. I need 5,000 words on what's going wrong with this right now.
Can we recreate?
Allphly.com, folks. Allphly.
We're gonna get in. We have to recreate what happened here, right? So during that challenge tonight, the officials are in the middle of saying the challenge is unsuccessful. So it'd be like, all right, I have the microphone, and it's like, after reviewing the play, we found that, and then Franklin the dog hits a half-court shot. And there it is! and Matt Cord screams and cuts off the officials in the middle of them telling it to us. And when I say I was in tears laughing, I am not exaggerating even a little bit. I was wiping tears away from my eyes. So back to Matt Cord to my left.
Put it on the chart there, Derek. That's right.
Sixers game ops coming up big again. A little chaotic, those game ops.
Franklin is now 4 of 10 on shots that I've tracked. on games I've tracked.
We've got about
which is actually higher than I
have to go.
No, we're not 40%. We've made 4 games out of 10. Anyway, it doesn't matter. No, they have been the worst challenge team in the league, and I don't have the stats here to back it up, but I'm pretty confident that I'm right. I've never seen a team this consistently bad, and quite frankly, the refs have gotten so many wrong that you want to almost not hold it against Nick, but he's made some dumbass challenges, and some that had no shot. The one today just had no shot of being overturned. It is perplexing. It is disappointing. It is probably not as big of a deal as we're going to make it, but that's what we do here. We have to talk about the team, and they legitimately feel like they haven't won one all season. I don't know. If it was Doc, he would be blaming the guy behind him on the bench.
There it is!
Yeah.
Nick has not done that, although quite frankly, we didn't ask him today. But no, they have been dreadful. They've been dreadful.
I mean, again, I don't have the stats in front of me, but they're definitely the worst challenge team in the league.
Yeah,
it's a small thing, but when you continually make the same mistake over and over again, and the other teams continually do it better than you, it's like this team that has really struggled. And even these last 2 games, they did a good job fighting for wins. You start the game down 4 or 5-0 every game, basically, because of these challenges.
I got, and since you guys took us in the arena, we got to take you to the couch where we all were. And the challenge went up, and I was like, Rich, JP, we already know what's going to happen. I'm going to go shoot some hoops on the Papa Shop while this plays itself out, because we knew it right away. And look, Kelly Oubre had a decent game. You guys talked about he was just there at the podium and how well he played. Those 2 plays that he had, where he had in fast break
drives,
opportunities
and they
to the basket, and they challenged. First of all, it shouldn't have gotten to that. But secondly, it was like, you know how this goes.
Just do that stuff, Nick. Do those ones.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
That's all. That's all. Okay, whatever.
All right, fellas, have a great rest of your night. Get home safely. Enjoy your Saturday off. We'll be back on Sunday for the Bulls. Maybe they can win the 2nd consecutive game, not 2 wins in a row. We don't call that a winning streak. We just say consecutive games against a bad Bulls defense. We'll see how that one plays. Maybe we get the big fella out there, possibly. I don't know. We're just saying maybe Paul George plays. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But we will be back on Sunday. Don't look out,
fellas. 3 out of 4 they've won, right?
Look at that. 3 out of 4.
Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. Pre-game show at 12:30 on Sunday. 1 o'clock, we start our watch-along on Sunday. And post-game, of course, for the Sixers and the Bulls. Fellas,
can't wait.
Have a great rest of your night. Can't you tell how much he loves doing these?
Absolutely. Can't wait.
All right, Kyle, Derek, be safe getting home. We'll see you guys. Make sure you go read Kyle's story, allphly.com. If you're a diehard member, you want to sign up, please do. And Rich's newsletter daily during the week, and check that out as well at allphly.com, and Derek's stories that he decides to write about the games. He always likes to pick things out of the games to write about. So you're missing some good stuff if you're not signed up as a diehard member.
So one quick thing, I'm going to step into the Dragon's Pit, the lair for a sec with Maxey. The one thing I will say about him, and this is something I probably should have said the other night, his 3-point shot is really important to his value. And when he's not making them, sometimes it's that he's not taking great shots, but sometimes he's just not making them. Devon, before this stretch this week, he goes 15 of 30 in the last week. This week, he is 2 of 21. That's a lot of your story. Like, he needs to be a high 30s, low 40s on volume shooter. And look, 3-point shooting, by definition, it's going to fluctuate. You're going to have good weeks. You're going to have bad weeks. But having a bad stretch, that's where we talk about the mid-range and some of the things not being involved in the game like you're talking about. I mean, part of the reason he was not involved in the game tonight was that Paul George, like, the offense was running through him for a decent amount. So he didn't have quite as many opportunities. But yeah, for sure, he still needs to play better. And I will add, Jared McCain, who we praised a lot the other night, he stunk tonight. He turned the ball over
his
3
first
times
3
in a row in the
possessions.
first half. He was getting picked across half court. That's why I think this was a gritty win, everybody, because, you have role players and PG stepping up. You have 2 of your more reliable guys were not very good tonight, and to still get a win when you don't shoot the 3 ball very well. I know Orlando didn't shoot the 3 ball well, but the Sixers didn't either. And some of that is Tyrese Maxey not being able to make a 3. That was a gritty win for those reasons. And there were a lot of guys who definitely chipped in. Like you talked about Kelly Oubre. Decent game for him and a decent little stretch showing a little bit of confidence. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but nice stretch. He was guarding Franz. How about Drum with a good first half, showing the hands on defense. He's played.
He looked really good. He looked good.
Over the past few weeks. It's been the best Drum.
He had a
game.
nice stretch too in there where we were like, oh, okay, this is the best stretch for him. Yep.
Let me look up that stretch while you're talking because I had a note on it. One other thing I'd like to see from Maxey a little more. I think if they start screening with McCain and Paul George, small screens. The classic example was LeBron and Kyrie used to just Steph Curry. Come
this way. Come this way.
Yeah. Anyway,
Join us.
It's not the be all end all, and obviously many other teams besides those Cavs have run some version of small pick and rolls. But I do think that is a way to get Maxey off somebody's body, potentially somebody smaller, and get them some buckets. On the it's funny, on the play where, and we're going to talk about it in a sec, where PG missed the dunk, that was Tyrese screening for him.
Yeah.
And so it can work either way. So I think that is maybe an idea to get him a little bit more involved.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to jump in on a few other things. Like, number one, let's start off with the player of the game. Y'all know who it is. We started talking about him, and he was fantastic tonight. He looked like, dare I say,
hit the applause, JP.
Kenyon Martin. He looked like tonight. He looked like Kenyon Martin Sr. out there on the floor tonight. 20 points. He made his 1-3 on 2 attempts. He missed 1 shot, and that was that 1-3, 9 for 10 from the floor. And he was tremendous. 2 assists and just a lot of good stuff that he did tonight. KJ Martin, our player of the game. So we'll keep track of this. Is KJ Martin's first player of the game award winner tonight, presented by no one. All right.
Presented by Jared McCain, who's won many of those awards.
Yes, he has. Let's get to our Super Chats, man. We got a ton of those. So let's run again. Congratulations to KJ Martin. We got a lot of Super Chats here. Let's go to Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, to start things off with his very first one saying, Kyle over Ricky is annoying. Get him a laptop or a tablet, if you will. Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats. Surprise, no Ricky and 11 minutes of Kyle Lowry?
I am a little bit surprised. Now, they had Kyle on those lineups where it was PG, the 2 little guards. I got to stop calling them the 2 little guards, but it is a shorthand for McCain and Maxey. They had him in on those units. Kyle Lowry plus 10, but I mean, he was just getting cardio for the most part. He had 3 assists, but didn't take a shot. Wasn't even really looking to take a shot. Davon, I agree with you. I would prefer that Rick would get those minutes as well, but
especially after the performance that he gave on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a little frustrating. We were talking
Tuesday
about him
Wednesday
in the pregame that, is he going to get to guard Franz? Is that a thing? And then he just doesn't get to play at all. I do wonder if Kyle Lowry continues to struggle. I do wonder if that's going to be a situation where Daryl Morey is going to have to take the club out of the bag.
Now, what is it? Is it the shooting? Is it the overall offensive running of the offense, not being able to hit the outside shot, the defense? What is it? Because I have something to counter depending on what you say.
Well, he's just not a threat to score at all. And I know he was making his threes the first couple weeks of the season. Look, I'm not somebody who's trying to bag on Kyle Lowry's career.
No,
like, he was an amazing player up until a few years ago. But I don't know. I just, when you have Ricky Council, who clearly has infused this team with the degree of athleticism and, some defense and those things, I don't think Kyle Lowry should be playing over him. I mean, it's clear that Nick Nurse thinks I need a second ball handler on the floor in those PG minutes. But it's also clear that Nick Nurse loves Kyle Lowry.
Oh, we know that. Yeah.
Because he won a championship with him.
And we did ask for, if you're going to get Kyle Lowry, 10 minutes and under, he got 11.
It is 11 minutes. So it wasn't a ton.
So. Yeah, it wasn't a ton. So here's my counter. Here's my question, because I brought this up when we were discussing the issues that they've had with the ball handling, secondary ball handling, backup ball handling, all that stuff. And I mentioned the name because of what he did in his stint with the New Orleans Pelicans, and that was Elfrid Payton. The way that he was playing, he's still young enough. He may not be an outside threat as a scorer, but what we're asking here is what we often talk about. If they have enough scoring, somebody to set them up. Yeah, 21 assists. We know we know who he is. We know who he is. And, hey, there's a reason why they maybe didn't keep him. Maybe they're going to tell him they're going to bring him back. But if you're looking at a minimum guy like that and you decide to move on from someone else on your roster, why not give him a look?
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I understand the idea of when Paul George is your primary option and you don't have any other guards, you do want somebody who can dribble and at least get you into your offense. And, that way Paul George doesn't have to bring the ball up and initiate the entire offense. You can get him in his spots. You can get him into that mid post, all of those places. So, yeah, I think that is the function that Kyle is serving. So I understand what you're saying. I mean, another counter that you could do is you could just make sure that McCain or Maxey is on the floor
100%
in those minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, McCain played 21 minutes tonight. He was not good tonight. So I don't want to kill Nurse too much for that tonight, but that is an option too. You could just play the kid, and then you have your other ball handler who can actually shoot, who's willing to shoot, is more of a threat.
Yeah, and again, look, I've always liked Elfrid Payton. His career is not like he's gonna, he's not a career. He's a career starter earlier, and then he found a role as a backup point guard, and he has size at what right around 6'4" or so. By the way, everybody, if you want to be a diehard member, make sure you sign up to become a diehard member. All PHLY.com. And get all the great writing from my teammates here on the Sixers, Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, all of it. We got you covered right here as a diehard member. But I'm just bringing that up just because of I wouldn't have said Elfrid Payton before, but what I saw, I'm not talking about the 21 assists. I'm just simply saying that on a bad team like that, for him to be able to run their offense the way that he did with like 2 players that were offensive minded on the floor with him, Trey Murphy coming back from an injury, CJ McCollum coming back from an injury. He's getting 21 assists with this bad team, setting up guys like we talk about, KJ Martin, Yabusele, to get them easier looks, Andre Drummond, without having to do much and exert themselves offensively where it could then turn into a turnover. That's the only reason I brought it up, because of what he did.
Now, would he be more of a threat offensively than Lowry? Maybe. I wasn't really watching his games. I mean, Lowry has...
Not from outside, but being able to get to the basket and finish because he still has legs left in him.
He has 4 points in his last 5 appearances, man. And I know a couple of those are 11 minutes, 13 minutes, those type of things, but it's a little hard to get around. You ideally would like to have more than that. Like, honestly, I thought when they got him last year, he would just bomb threes, right? And that would be his thing. He'd be an off-ball player, but he'd be a decent threat from beyond the arc. It doesn't even look like he really wants to shoot it that much. So,
he started off shooting when he was starting. He
I know,
started off
the
shooting
first couple
well.
weeks he was awesome.
Yeah.
The first couple weeks he was awesome.
Then he got a little banged up and, all of that stuff.
4 points in his last 5 games. It's not great.
Just a question, just a thought. All right, let's keep it moving.
Next one you guys kind of addressed already.
Okay, with Canoli. Well, we still want to highlight Canoli. Do you think they should trade KJ at the deadline? Canoli, we did answer that.
Derek talked about it.
He's still a name. Yes, even though he has looked good, he's still a name. He's not untradeable.
I thought Derek also put it well. I mean, again, you might have to aggregate some salaries as well. KJ Martin, I forget what his number is, but it's like 8 million, something like that. Obviously, if you were going to trade for a better player, you might have to aggregate that with Oubre or Caleb or somebody else.
Yeah.
So, but Derek's point is a good one. They need to keep winning for this to even be a conversation. If they are, even if they're flailing around the 9, 10 seed or 8 seed at the trade deadline, is that the team that's actually going to make a deep run? And then in that case, I would want to keep KJ Martin in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in that case too, one thing we could talk about moving forward, if they are really not a contender at that point, it might financially, you might not be able to bring Yabusele back. In that case, it might actually make sense to trade him. Just because, not because you want to trade him, but just it's kind of like what the Knicks had with Hartenstein this year, where they weren't able to match the contract that Oklahoma City gave them. They didn't have enough bird rights on him. So that is something to look for. Yabu, also nice game for him. I feel like we've went too far without mentioning it. Make your free throws, man. I know the one play where Wendell Carter definitely went into the lane. I felt for you on that one. I'm sure that can be distracting. But, man, for a guy who's a pretty good three-point shooter, the free throws are getting dicey with you.
They're free, everybody. Make them. Make them. All right, let's go to the next one. Davon with another one saying the Heat players only play well for Miami. Well, I'm willing to give Caleb Martin time because of his shoulder injury, whatever's going on there, and the fact that we wanted to see him on the floor with Tyrese Maxey and Paul George healthy, and most importantly, with Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid healthy. So I'm still willing to give Caleb Martin a look there, but I appreciate it, Davon. What are your thoughts?
No, that's been the case for a long time, right? That's it. The Gabe Vincents of the world, even some of the players at the Heat.
But I think he's better than like Gabe Vincent and some of those other guys.
Oh, sure. I agree with that. Max Strus is okay in Cleveland.
And he's doing his thing.
And by the way, even some of the guys that are breakout players in that Heat player development system. Like Duncan Robinson, that was a bad contract for most of his time there, even though they re-signed him. You know what I would say about Caleb, though? I appreciate that he's playing every night. Go like take a week off. If this is what you're going to give us, I mean, if you're going to start grabbing your leg after your first drive to the basket, and that's been the case for, I feel Kyle compared him to the Monty Python character. I think it's the Black Knight. It's one of the knights, the guy who always just gets comedically injured and hurt and all of those things. As you can tell, I'm not the biggest Monty Python guy in the world, but yes. I have heard of the character before. Yeah, it just feels like he's not giving you a lot right now. So Caleb, like, just take a few games. It's okay. If you beat us, this is what you're going to give us.
You know what's good for him? Next week, while they play Chicago on Sunday, we haven't mentioned that the NBA Cup games that the Sixers are now scheduled Thursday at Charlotte.
No, it's Friday. Friday home against Indy.
Against Indiana, and then they go to Charlotte on Sunday.
Sunday or Monday.
Sunday, I think it's Sunday.
And that's their only games almost in a 2-week period, basically. So, look, Caleb, like, my advice, take those games off because you're not going to miss any other game time with that. Ice up really your whole body. You know, it seems like.
We won't blame you.
It's like the old Allen Iverson graphic. I remember on NBA on NBC when they would show everything that was ailing AI in the playoffs, and it would just be, you know, they point at his foot, they point at his ankle, they point at his knee, they point at both elbows, they point at his face.
The Daily News had a great one when they did that during the finals run. It was the Milwaukee series for the conference finals. It is Indiana at home on Friday, Charlotte at Charlotte on Monday. So some days off and some time in between for him to actually take a break and heal up a little bit. All right, we keep it going. Cannoli with another one checking in. Who do you think should start? Changes every game. I think it's also just availability. Drummond's in. Drummond's out.
I wouldn't have said start Drummond tonight, but he played well.
So yeah, we also would have said start McCain. He did not play well.
So
KJ Martin has been starting. He did not. He came off the bench and he played well.
I would say start KJ Martin. I'm getting to that point where I think he's earned that spot. And
next to who?
Either one.
In the front court.
Either Drummond or Yabusele, how you want to do that. I mean, I would have started Yabu tonight, but again, I thought Drummond played pretty well. And a lot of times in the NBA, who closes is more important than the starting lineup. We obviously obsess over the starting lineup, which is fair. I mean, what else are we going to talk about before the game? But tonight it was Martin and Yabusele actually closing the game. So whatever. I would start Tyrese, Paul George, and KJ. And then you could make an argument for you want McCain to start. I wouldn't mind that at all. But if you want to get more wings, if you want to be able to switch and you start Oubre and be able to switch that 2-3-4 with George, Oubre, and KJ Martin, I understand that as well. I think there are a bunch of not great options, but I think they're all around the same level.
Yeah,
basically.
Yep. All right, let's keep it going. Our buddy Ash checking in. What up, Ash? Ash, you know what? Next game, let us know what the updated numbers are for Joel Embiid. And Ash was great with that last season for us. Let us know on Sunday. Don't worry about it tonight. Sunday.
Might be
updating it.
Might be it.
Might be updating it. All right. Is Nick Nurse the NBA's worst challenger? Yes.
Yes. Next.
Yes. Thank you, Ash. We love you, man. We love you. All right, let's keep it going. We talked about that, so we answered the question. Thank you, Ash. Yes, he is the worst challenger.
What kind of trouble would you get? Good one, Gavin. Gavin asks, what kind of trouble would you get in if you just told Nurse to stop challenging during a presser? That's one of those where it's like the Dave Chappelle gif where he's like running away, or whatever. You ask it, and then you sprint out of the room,
knock over the water, and run out of there.
Exactly,
and get out of there. Yeah, he's bad.
He's bad at it. And he's bad. Luckily, I have this job now, so I don't have to ask him.
Yep. Kyle O, thank you guys, Gavin and Ash. Thank you. Kyle O asks, shout out, or he didn't ask. He just wanted to give us a shout out. Shout out to PHLY team. Love the shows. Thank you, Kyle. We really appreciate it. We had a great week with Black Friday. If we go back a week, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I had a great week with everybody checking in. Our deal for 36 and 36 got extended because of so many people and the fact that they wanted to sign up asking about the introductory price, that special price of $36. We had a great week, so we appreciate it. Kyle, we can't do it without you, so we really appreciate you and everyone who are part of our show. We never say it's our show. It's all of our show, and the community is a part of you and us. So we really appreciate it for that shout out. And thank you so much for the kind words. I really appreciate you, Kyle. Kyle also jumps in. Before we get to Bernard, let's go to Kyle's second one since he's right there. Mount Rushmore of Magic players are who?
Penny,
Shaq,
Dwight.
Yes.
I don't know who's number 4.
Wow, do you go
Let's
Horace
see.
Grant, Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis?
He was tough for a minute there.
Yeah, he was. Jameer. Jameer was an all-star.
Long career for them too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am looking.
Jameer might have his number retired at some point, so that's Tracy McGrady.
T-Mac would probably be. I know he played at a bunch of different places. I remember that series. He almost beat the number 1 seed Pistons. I think he got him up 3-1. What a player!
He did the Cardinal sin. He spoke about it in the press conference where he said it's great to finally get a series win in the first round.
Oh, no.
After that, we know what happened. He lost that series against the Pistons. So
effortless watching that guy score.
So say McGrady, Howard, Shaq, and Penny. And who's your 5th? Mount Rush? Well, just to give a 5th because there's so many good ones.
Well, you only need 4 for Mount Rushmore.
I know, but there's so many.
You want a 5th? So I'm looking at Basketball Reference. They have their all-time top 12 players, and they just do it by the amount of win shares accumulated. And sometimes that doesn't always mean the best players who played for them. Sometimes longevity is there. So we haven't named their 2nd and 3rd best players of all time. Nick Anderson is number 2 all time, and I don't remember.
And I wouldn't put him there.
No, I don't really remember. I remember him for his worst moment. Yeah, the free throws. And then number 3, I probably should have at least known this. I wouldn't have put him on my Mount Rushmore, is Nick Vucevic.
Yeah, I would put Jameer or Turkoglu, maybe even Rashard Lewis over both of them.
So it goes T-Mac, it goes Shaq 4th, T-Mac 5th, Penny 6th, Jameer 7th, Horace 8th, Darryl Armstrong 9th, Hito 10.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Scott could shoot it, and then Rashard Lewis. So,
yeah.
I mean, again,
I'll
those
put Jameer
teams
over
around,
them.
those teams around when Dwight played the 29 to 2012 Magic, when Stan Van Gundy was coaching them, they were really good. They spaced the floor perfectly, and Dwight was the perfect center at that time.
So good
to play 4-round 1 offense. He was
so
a beast.
good. He's disrespected. He should have been in that top 75. He was that good.
Yeah,
he should have been in that top 75 over. Who was it over? Everybody was talking. I can't remember now, but he and Klay Thompson didn't make it, and Dwight absolutely should. I think it was Anthony Davis.
Yeah,
Anthony Davis is a Hall of Famer also. But for a top 75 for what you were talking about, Dwight Howard in his prime, yes, he should have made that top 75. Great question though, Kyle.
He was not as fun to watch, but he was absolutely dominant for a couple of years. He was one of the best 2 or 3 players in the league.
He got that team to a final.
Yeah.
Jameer was hurt when Rafer Alfin had to step in that finals run. Jameer came back, but Dwight was that good, man. He was that good. Defensive Player of the Year, All-Stars, All-NBA, all that stuff. He was that good. It wasn't even a question. Appreciate the question, though, Kyle O. We keep it moving with Bernard, who asked the question, not believing in Maxey as a playmaker early in the career is hurting him. From Harden to Embiid, and now Point Paul George, always having to adjust. Well, I mean, in today's NBA, you can be on ball, off ball, and still we're asking him to be better as a point guard, not to be the only ball handler and setting up guys. And he's gotten better. But now it's the opposite. We're asking him to be the scoring player that we know him to be. And he's not doing that during the stretch right now. And you can see it. It looks like it's hurting his confidence.
Look, I think the key for Tyrese, and as much as we're talking about what he can do better, how can he get into the mid-range, all of those things, he really needs Joel back.
He does.
If you get Joel back and you can slot Joel and PG, Joel as the first option, and then PG and Maxey, PG kind of doing his own thing, and then Maxey playing off Joel, he'll be fine. He'll start putting up a bunch of points. But I do think a lot of Tyrese's value at this point is off-ball shooting, three-point shooting when he gets hot, and that is a lot easier to do when you have the big fella taking a lot of the defense's attention, setting great screens, running the two-man game. It would be nice if he got Joel back. And so Look, he'll bounce back. He'll bounce back. Don't worry.
He will. He will. I'm not worried about him. Yes, we called him out for bad performances, but we're not worried about him. It's just in the moment, especially when you have a close loss like they did at 4-point loss on Wednesday, you point those things out. Prophet one with the final one. Devon, when do we hear your theme song on here? Well, the theme song, for people who don't know, VG, Violations Greg, who's part of the Anthony Gargano Show with JP and Andrew, VG put together a theme song for my weekly visits on the Anthony Gargano Show. So I would say we only hear it, Prophet, on the Anthony Gargano Show. And it's exclusive to the Anthony Gargano Show. You agree with that, JP? As one of the members of the Anthony Gargano Show.
So this is new to me. So I've been here with
yeah,
you
you've
guys.
been here, so you didn't hear it. Yeah, JP has graphics and music, and it's like it's off of the Tribe Called Quest songs. So one of the songs.
BG's really good.
I gotta hear this.
You gotta hear it.
BG's a talented guy.
Yes, he is. So we really thank you, Prophet One, for noticing that I have my own theme music.
Look at you.
Yeah. Well,
you're prolific, man.
When Slade would jump in here in the chat, I would talk about, I don't know if a lot of people knew what I was saying. I would say every hero needs a theme music. I wasn't calling myself a hero. I was talking about because Slade was in there, and that is from I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, the Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Sure.
Great movie from the 80s, late 80s. And he says in there, and KRS-One was his theme music for Keenan Ivory Wayans once the movie was over. So not spoiling anything. It's almost 40 years old. Go check it out. And everyone should have their own theme music, Rich. So I have theme music for the Anthony Gargano Show. Thank you, VG and team. Appreciate it. Yeah, man, By the way, 40 years today. I always loved this. My favorite movie of all time. Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, yeah. Axel Foley.
40 years today.
Come on,
40 years
man.
today, man. 40 years today. I love it.
Banana in the tailpipe.
Banana in the tailpipe. The Bronson Pinchot. When they first met
Surge.
Up. Get them out of here.
So did you watch the new one, Devon?
I was supposed to watch it. So, I watch a lot of movies and stuff with my daughters and stuff like that. So we never watched. I was supposed to watch it together and never got a chance to watch it. And I refused to watch it until they were ready to watch it. And I'm still ticked off that we're in December. This came out in July, and I haven't watched it yet. Love Beverly Hills Cop.
Love it.
1 and 2. 3 doesn't count. It was never made.
3 doesn't count.
Erase it from the universe.
What are you talking about? That's not
erase it from the universe. It was never made. That did not happen. It didn't happen. So,
by the way, I did watch it, JP, and honestly, yeah. And as far as most Netflix movies are kind of trash, honestly.
Yes, they are.
Honestly, this was better than the average.
Like Coming to America.
It was fine.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, any guy.
Oh, you know what?
It was bad.
I didn't watch it.
Don't watch it because
I didn't watch the new one.
You don't want to. Yeah.
But anyway, the number one, man, what a movie. The interplay that Axel has with Taggart and Rosewood, John Ashton and Judge Reinhold, man, unbelievable. And it continues to 2, which is, I mean, that's a crazy movie. There's a lot of shooting and violence in that one.
Classic.
Huh? No. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great. I'm just saying, like, the violence is turned up to
Yep. Bridget Nielsen. Yeah.
Great movie, though.
Great. And shout out to, rest in peace to John Ashton, Sergeant Taggart.
I know, he recently
because
died.
I'm glad they got the movie done before he, unfortunately passed away. I'm glad, because it wouldn't have been the same if he wasn't in it. Wouldn't have been the same. So, shout out to Beverly Hills Cop 1, Eddie Murphy. The anniversary, 40 years today. It's my favorite movie of all time. And everybody's like, oh, it was your favorite. Come to Beverly Hills Cop 1 is because Eddie Murphy is my favorite. So that's why it's number 1 for me.
80s Eddie when he's
untouchable.
Just got that charisma. Yeah,
untouchable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's untouchable. So, all right, we got to, you know what? We had our WTF moment. We had Strong and Wrong. We'll just tell you what it is so we can get everybody out of here so you can enjoy the rest of your evening going into the weekend. Strong and Wrong was the play that you talked about. Paul George had a wide open dunk, and he just flat out front rimmed it. He got rim locked, and he missed it. That was the Strong and Wrong moment of the night. It was the strong move, wrong ending for Paul George, presented by no one.
Tire.
He exploded to the rim, but his tire gave out. Yes, it did. And the WTF moment was actually a good one. KJ Martin skying up for that rebound over 2 Magic defenders, securing it and having the wherewithal to find Jared McCain cutting to the basket in the middle of the floor for a layup right there for 2 points. And that pretty much wraps up our evening of how good it was for the Sixers. KJ Martin with the good W. We were like, oh, what the?
You're allowed to say WTF in a positive manner. Something can positively surprise you.
Absolutely. So good one for him. And we also had another bad one, but, it was more about Kelly Oubre in the open floor. So there was that. All right, let's get ready to say goodbye. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Again, download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary, must be 21 plus, and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Roll call time. We got to say it to end the work week. We are back on Sunday, but we got to say it. Roll call. Lost Sleep TV. Prophet One, what up? Tom Jackson, Neil Deaver, Bootzilla, Boots, Winona, Jess, Money Mar, we appreciate everybody. Jeannie, Hedva, Al, the 2-minute warning. What up, Al? Mom's grandchildren. If you see Mom's grandchildren, you know that's my mom. In there, hey, Mom. Everybody talks to Mom in the chat. We have Glenn, my good friend Glenn from my radio days. What up, Glenn? Holy Cannoli in there. Joaquin Rodem. Kyle O, Jay the Jungle. What up, Jay? Charlie Hendrickson, Brian Pumper, I Gavini. What up, I Gavini? Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Some more wins would be nice. Remo K, SB Cole, Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, the Alden Network in there, Ash, and my guy, X-Man. What up, X? Our super chatters, can you throw those up one more time there? We have Gavin, Kyle O, Bernard, Prophet, Ash, Holy Cannoli, Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you hanging out with us this week. It's been a fun one. Got 2 wins, man. 2 wins. 3 of their last 4, as Kyle said. So they're on a roll. Watch out, everybody. We'll see how it goes. On Sunday, we begin our show at 12:30 ahead of the Sixers and Bulls on the road for the Bulls team. That is pretty bad. Maybe they get another win, the Sixers. And then we have our watch along. And yes, we understand that the Eagles will be playing the Panthers at the same time. So what you do is you turn the Eagles on the television. You put us on your laptop, trusty laptop, and you have us both going at the same time. And we appreciate that. JP, thank you so much for hanging out with us all week long, man.
It was an honor, man.
We really appreciate your help. Rich, as always, it's a blast. See you next week.
Always fun, man.
Next Friday, you and I for
some NBA Cup losers bracket.
Yes, indeed. For the Indiana Pacers game. They are not all that good either, so maybe you can steal a win there. So for Kyle, Derek, Rich, and JP, I'm Devon. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you on Sunday at 12:30. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Live it up. Enjoy your Saturday off, and we'll talk to you on Sunday at 12:30 right here on the PHLY Sixers show.
We all silly like the mayor.